hold space for your darkness, a first responder mental health podcast hosted by me, Erin Jane, where we have conversations about what it's like to perform a first responder role and the mental health challenges that can accompany it.
Hello and welcome to another episode of I Will Hold Space for Your Darkness. I'm your host, Erin Jane. And today I am coming to you from my childhood backyard in Australia. So for anyone who listened to the last episode, I said that I was coming home to Oz for about 5 or 6 weeks. And so this is kind of just like a bit of a check-in, a bit of an update. To be honest, I've just been so focused on spending time with people, the people that I love, all my friends and family, that I haven't sort of, found the time or even like the inclination to, even sort of be asking people to come on, because it's really just been, my time home is just about reconnecting and solidifying those friendships with the people that, I only kind of get to see once a year. So, not to say that I won't be hitting them up later down the track for it. But yeah, so I've been here for a bit over 3 weeks now. And we picked my firefighter hubby up from the airport yesterday. So as you can imagine, I've been here with my 2 little boys for the last 3.5 weeks. So to pick up their wonderful dad and just all be reunited. It's been really, really lovely. So it's a long trip, sort of about with stops and everything. It's sort of about 28 hours. But yeah, so he's happy to be here because, fortunately for me, I married someone who just adores my country. So he loves it here, and the boys love it here, and they're especially happy to have dad at home, or home here with us. So yeah, and just been catching up with people and all that kind of thing. And a lot of the people that I still maintain really strong friendships with here are still in the first responder realm. So they're still predominantly law enforcement, given my background, and it's always interesting to kind of catch up, with them and just kind of see how things have progressed since I left the job, really. You sort of I don't think you ever stop bleeding blue. Once you've done that and been in that role, it sort of stays with you, and then I think you still feel incredibly connected in that respect, because I do have such a strong community and group of friends here who are still on the job. So coming back and catching up with them and sort of just hearing about how everyone's going, and it's not necessarily great from all reports. Everywhere is just ridiculously understaffed, which I think is, and a problem in law enforcement sort of everywhere you go. But, I was talking to a friend's hubby the other day who is a sergeant, and he's at a smaller police station that sort of is in between sort of 2 larger ones. They have, I think he said 16 or 18 vacancies, and there's 3.5 troops, including him. And so how that doesn't lead to burnout and all of the things, I don't know. And I think it's a challenge that we're all facing, because, all of the things that we're exposed to at the best of times, and then coupled into that, if there's no troops, so all you're doing is out on the road getting smashed with jobs, and then, there's no break, there's no help, there's no backup. So I think it's really challenging for a lot of people at the moment. And probably one of the bigger things that have sort of impacted me in my time here, and it's sort of approaching sundown here, so kind of hoping I can get this done before the mozzies come out to get me. One of the things that's really impacted me the most was a conversation that I had with a really good friend of mine who, in the job, I worked with him at my training station, and he is like older than me and was more senior to me, and he was very much like a really important and integral mentor for me, especially like in my early years. He just sort of guided me and took the time to teach me, the right way to do things, and ended up, becoming one of my best mates. So I was having a chat with him the other day, and we were, having to catch up about all the people that we used to work with and all that kind of thing, and going over, oh, how's this person? How's that person? Spoken to him, spoken to them. And it was, we both kind of came to a bit of a sad realization. Like the station we worked for was sort of, a bit of a, like sort of smaller type of one, I would say all up, sort of like troops, boots on the ground, maybe I would say under 50, like maybe 40 at the time. And we were sort of going over, people that we both used to know and were friends with and we used to work with, and how they're all going and where they're at in the job and stuff now. And we sort of figured out that probably about easily sort of 10 to 12. So we're looking at, 25% of that station from that period of time. They're all gone. They're all out. And many of them are because of mental health. They have just pulled up stumps, and, whether they've kind of chosen to leave on their own terms, whether they've sort of, unceremoniously been like pushed out because of mental health, like so many are gone. And, it kind of just, it really, I guess it sort of impacted me in a way, because obviously they're not the only ones that, I'm aware of. There's other people I've known, throughout my career who are now, out of the job for various reasons. Some are like me, just, their life went in like a different direction. But so many of them are, out because of mental health reasons. While my little one's about to come and interrupt. Hi.
Mama, I don't know where my iPad is.
Say hi. It's inside. Thanks, darling. That was my youngest. So yeah, it really, made me think about the toll that this job is taking on so many people. The fact that, 25% of a workforce that I knew at a particular time in my career, and granted it's like 15, 17 years ago now, and many of them were sort of older than me at the time, but it's a job that, people used to have these really long careers in, and I still even remember, some of the ones I worked with back then, and they would just be so angry about, I don't know, just the job and shit that went along with it. And I never really understood it at the time. And I have, I guess I have a lot more understanding and insight about it now, that, what I saw at the time as their, I don't know, the Aussie birds flying across, what I saw at the time as just, unwarranted rage and anger, I think was just, in hindsight, was burnout, and it was trauma, unresolved trauma that the culture at that time in the job, it just wasn't something that we dealt with or that we acknowledged. And, a decade and a half later, all of those chickens have come home to roost. So many of the people that this, good friend and I, that we both worked with, they're out, they're, mental health struggles. Some are having addiction problems. Like, it's pretty heartbreaking, to be perfectly honest, to hear about so many of the people that are out, that, it just gives a snapshot of what this job is doing to so many of us, and the impact that it's having, and coupled with that, like, equally, most of the ones that are out, they're also divorced, relationships broken up. Like, clearly so much of what we do has impacted, their entire lives. So I think it's, I just bring it up, I guess, because I think it's just like the smallest snapshot that I can present of how many people that, I've known in my career and since then, that have been impacted so greatly in regards to this job, and I guess it's sort of maybe part of the reason why that conversation resonated so much with me too was the day after we had that conversation, we spoke again, this mate of mine and I, and he told me about the fact that a member signed out their service firearm and went and completed suicide in the car park of the police station, which is a few k's from my house here. So that was last week. And I was made aware that there was a dispatcher that had also taken their life in that preceding week. And I also saw there's a great page I follow called Aussie Frontline. If you want to go check them out, I highly recommend. By like former military veterans, Australians, and I think one of them's they're a current or former first responder, and they go around giving talks and providing services for military vets and first responders. So go check them out. But I digress, and then I was sort of notified on their page too that a member in Western Australia, or WA as we will call it, had also completed suicide. So sort of 3 losses just in our country alone in the space of a week and a half, and sort of 2 from the one police force. And obviously I know that it has been a pretty rough week, or couple of weeks in America as well, with a lot of losses in the first responder world. A few from completing suicide, some from line of duty deaths, unfortunately, including the ones in Minnesota, 2 police officers and the firefighter paramedic who was shot by a suspect who was holding people hostage and opened fire. So all in all, when my heart very much belongs in 2 different countries and 2 different places, and gets pulled between them both a lot of the time. My heart feels fucking broken because the same shit is just happening everywhere. And, you know, like I said earlier, I don't think you stop bleeding blue even when you do leave the job. And especially not when, you know, there's so many people that you still know and love, are still wearing that uniform and doing those roles, and it just I don't know, it's fucked. Quite simply, it's just it's so upsetting that it keeps happening, and yeah, I don't know. I guess I just wanted to come on and address that, because it's not happening in isolation, you know. And so many people are reaching that point of despair where they think that they don't have another option. And there's, you know, so many people working in the domain of trying to help in that field. You know, like I mentioned, the Aussie frontline blokes just before, they're, you know, doing good work here in Australia. And obviously I've had Travis Gribble from my arena on a previous episode. He's teamed up with Overwatch Collective, who I'm also affiliated with as a coach for first responders. They've teamed up. You know, so many people are out there trying to spread the word and encourage people to reach out, encouraging them to talk, so they're not making that final decision and not, you know, taking those actions that can't be taken back. And I think many of us know that pain, you know, and that loss, whether it's been a friend, a colleague, you know, a family member, anything like that. Like, so many of us know, and I think it's a loss like no other. And I think it, you know, so many of the times it haunts us and it stays with us. And I guess this isn't the rosiest Australian update that I could have given you. But I don't know, I couldn't be here on holiday, and you know, as much as it's lovely to be seeing everyone, you know, I guess part of me is always scared that one day I'm going to see that notification about someone, you know, being lost or taking their life in the police force that I used to work for. And honestly, I'm shit scared that one day it's going to be someone that I know, someone that I love, someone that I care about, because, you know, it's getting to a lot of them. It really is. And I guess, you know, what I do with my coaching, what I'm working towards with my psychology degree, and even just the premise of this podcast, I'll hold space for your darkness. It's all about providing people the choice and the place of understanding, a place of insight, of compassion to have someone to talk to in whatever capacity that they need. Because, you know, all of the information shows when you talk about things and you share your experiences, it helps. It's not necessarily the be all and end all. And if you are really struggling, you know, sometimes you need more. You know, you might need some medication, you might need EMDR, you might need all of the things, or you might just need fucking someone to listen and not interrupt you and not give you advice and not tell you what to do. Just someone to listen. And I think, honestly, I think that's what a lot of us are missing sometimes. So I want to keep this one short, because it's just meant to be a bit of a brief check-in. But I guess I just want to implore, anyone who might just happen to be listening, and if you are struggling, and if you are having a tough time, please know that there are people out here who do want to help you and who are willing to listen. And it doesn't matter what you have to say or what you've done, or whether you feel guilt or shame or embarrassed or fearful or scared or any of the things. There are so many people who just want to be here to help you. And that's what it really boils down to. So I encourage you to reach out and talk to someone, or, someone says, hey, how are you? I don't know, maybe consider telling them the truth instead of just, oh yeah, I'm fine, living the dream, like we all do, and equally, if you are a police officer, a firefighter, paramedic, EMT, dispatcher, correctional officer, anyone working, a nurse, anyone working on the front lines, like, we're all already resilient. As my friend James Boomhauer, or Boomer, from Safe Fit for Duty, I shared one of his reels the other day, and he's talking about, for us to be doing this job, any of the realms of being a first responder, we all already are resilient. We have generally an incredible amount of resilience, because, otherwise you wouldn't have made it past fucking day one. You just wouldn't. So sometimes it's not about, finding your resilience, because you already are. Sometimes it's just about finding better coping skills and strategies, and making sure that the ones that you have aren't veering into the maladaptive range that may have worked in the beginning but are no longer serving you or are no longer good for you. And I know that, we all shoulder our own burdens. We've all got our own shit going on, We've got marriages, relationships. Some of us have kids. We're juggling work, businesses, study, all of the fucking things. But, if there's someone you see every day at work, check in on them. Ask if they're doing okay. You're sitting out on the fucking van or truck with them. Just check in, because I don't know how many times I, talk to people, and when, they have lost someone to suicide, and they're like, I wish I'd known, I wish I'd asked, all of the things. And generally it's not necessarily a lot that we can do sometimes, but if just one person is asking them in a genuine way if they're okay, or helping them find help, we are a community, not like many others. I would probably say, and I don't have any military experience, but I would assume that, whilst it's different, there'd be the similar camaraderie that goes along with it. So not everyone's always going to understand. So if we are checking in on each other, and we are pointing people in the right direction, if they are struggling, of culturally competent and appropriate people to be helping them, as as the Overwatch crew says, one more is one less. One more person that checks in on someone might be one less person that makes that final decision and takes that final action. So just between, the losses here in Oz in the last sort of week and a half and all of the ones in the States, I guess I just wanted to jump on and acknowledge it. And I'm sorry this episode isn't full of, fucking sunshine and rainbows, but we all know the realm that we exist in. So, yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, jump on and share my thoughts and just remind people that there is no shame in struggling, putting your hand up and saying, you know what, I'm fucking cooked. I feel burnt out. I need a break. Because, when we get a physical injury, it's visible and people feel like, oh yeah, you broke your fucking arm or you broke your leg. I get that you can't function right now. You'll function to, the best of your capabilities when it's psychological, when it's emotional. People aren't given the same grace and the same compassion, and that's fucking terrible, and it's a blight on us all, and we're all trying to get better about it, but some people are still playing catch up. So this is your reminder that it doesn't fucking matter what it is or who you are. If you need a fucking break and you need some help, reach out. Okay? I will perhaps try to do a happier check-in another point during my trip. Otherwise, I will be coming home sort of about halfway, or home back to Boston, about halfway through March. And I've been, having some great conversations and lining some wonderful people up to come and have some good chats on the podcast. So whilst I'm really, enjoying the break here and spending time with all the people that I love, I am equally excited to come back to, I guess, my everyday existence and film some more episodes, because as I've sort of mentioned in previous podcasts, this is like my passion project. It's something that has been completely unexpected. Nothing I ever envisaged myself doing, but fuck me, I love it. I really love coming on and speaking to, people from all over the States, and, different places throughout Australia, and just, sharing our stories, sharing our experiences, sharing our grief and our trauma and our post-traumatic growth, and sharing all of the things. So the people listening, and, if you are listening, fuck me, I appreciate you so much, because all of this comes from a really good place, and it's just about letting people know that they're not alone, and we've all got our stories, and we've all got our war stories, and I think it builds community. And when I do posts, with Instagram sometimes, and I sort of call it, I guess, the way that I look at it is, the people who listen and the lovely people who've come on as guests. I sort of, refer to it as like, my darkness community. Because we've all got darkness. Every one of us. If you do the jobs that we do, you are exposed to darkness, and it can't help but penetrate sometimes. But my belief is that when we share, the stories of our darkness, it shines light on them, and it makes it so they're not that bad, and they're not that heavy, and it helps us process them. It's pretty simple. So I love having these conversations, and I'm always really appreciative of, the people who take the time to come on. So yeah, that's it. I will wrap it up. Thank you for joining me in my childhood backyard. If you've been watching, I don't know if you've seen some crazy Aussie birds flying past. You may have heard them. I don't know. I'll be editing and finding out. So yeah, but thank you for listening to this update. This really is a pure joy for me. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you giving me your time if and when you do choose to listen. If you are someone who's listening and are interested in coming on and having a chat, please get in contact. All my info is in the show notes, or you can find me as Erin Jane Coaching on Instagram, or the page for this actual podcast is Erin Jane _ darkness podcast, I think. But yeah, otherwise, stay well. I'll be back to regular episodes in a few weeks. Appreciate your patience with me being away. But yeah, stay well. And this has been Erin Jane coming to you from Australia. And as always, let me listen in a way you've never been heard. Cheers.